So if somebody was to ask you, do you think Jesus would ever be in a club? What would your answer be? My answer would be yes, of course. And that is because Jesus, as an ascended master, practiced alchemy. So of course, although he was holier than thou, he was able to function in the club. You see, when it comes to alchemy and practicing alchemy for your ascension, you will be doing things that on the surface appears to defy logic. And one thing that we are all pointed to in the Bible is that, the religious authorities of the day, the robed men, the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes, criticized Jesus plenty, ridiculed him, called him a glutton. I believe they referred to his, drinking endeavors, and you name it. What they saw with their carnal eyes as being unholy was in fact very holy, because again, Jesus was practicing alchemy. That's one thing that's not noted really in regards to the first miracle Jesus performed, and it is, worthy to note the fact that the first, number one, 11:11 for all of you peeps out there following this particular fad, the number one, as in the first miracle, was Jesus turning water into wine. Well, the first noted, let's say. This was his first big public expression of his powers through alchemy. He managed to turn water into wine. Now, if you step out the box for a minute and look at it, then you'll realize that, wait, religion is confused, because not only was the first miracle centered around wine at a party, a wedding party, so a lot of drinking, a lot of wildness, shall we say. Not only was the first miracle centered around wine, but you have wine in church every Sunday, or every day there is a service, I believe. You have wine in Holy Communion, alcohol. As an altar boy, I remember pouring the wine into the chalice, getting it ready for service. You'd pour like maybe 2/3 wine and 1/3 water. And they had like a special rosé wine, I believe. It was some special wine they got from a particular manufacturer or whatever. But yeah, that included alcohol, of course. Mind you, it was diluted, but anyway, it's got alcohol. And it's for me, the irony of it all. The fact that the first miracle, Jesus turning water into wine, which I'll go into in a second, and then the fact that you've got wine every week in churches, and those same people would look down upon people who go out to the pub or to the clubs and get wild, drinking, smoking, whatever, you name it. They would judge that. Those same people that then have wine on a Sunday with their flatbread. Yeah. And those same people in the Bible called Jesus a glutton, a drunkard, a this, a that. You hang around prostitutes, you hang around thieves, taxmen, this and that. Yet they did not know. I reckon they knew, the religious authorities, to be honest with you. I have to give them that respect. They must have known about alchemy, surely. Hence they were in the position they were in. But they didn't want the others to know about alchemy. But Jesus was telling people to, he was telling people that you can turn water into wine if you want to. Once you're in line with the universe, it's yours. You can do what you want. You could manifest a car right now if you wanted to. That's what Jesus was showing. And on the surface, it was it was very, I don't know if the word profane is correct to use right now, but it was very not rude, but it was very unorthodox. It was very confrontational to the old system, to the religious system, what Jesus was doing. When you really think about it, Jesus turned water into wine because he was showing all of us that This is alchemy. What I'm doing is alchemy. I'm mixing the good with the bad. I'm turning the good to the bad, or the bad to the good. I'm mixing it all up. This is alchemy. That's what the water into red wine signifies. That's why it had to happen. It's because Jesus had to show the power of alchemy. So rather than turning lead into gold, he turned water into wine. So that was the very first step. That was the alchemy.
Hello?
So you have to understand that when it comes to your mastership, when it comes to practicing alchemy, you're going to do things that to religious people will appear offensive. It will appear offensive. It will be derogatory to them. Explicit. Because when you are in a dogmatic state of mind, that is, when you are religious, you cannot think of anything outside the box you're entrapped in. So of course Jesus was in the club. Of course he was popping those bottles. Of course he was smoking the doobie. That's because he, as an alchemist, knew what he was doing. He was not controlled by those things. Rather, he controlled those things. Hence, he could create wine from water. But then you've got the religious authorities now saying how this is, a dishonorable man. He's not holy because he's not doing holy things. Isn't it funny that the holiest things on the surface will appear unholy? What does that tell you? I'll leave it to you. I would love to, hear what you have to say about that. But isn't that funny? That such a man, such an alchemist, because of his alchemy and his mastery, those out there cannot perceive him as the Messiah, because it's just, it doesn't follow. This is a son of David. He should be coming from a high line of kings and whatever, forgetting the fact anyway that David came from a humble beginning himself. But anyway, they believe that he should be a high ruler who will go out there and kill with the sword and blah. Yet they believe that because he came from humble beginnings, the son of a carpenter, he couldn't be the Messiah. This is a man who talks to prostitutes. This is a man who talks to a Samaritan woman. He talks to thieves. He touches lepers. How can we even acknowledge such a man as someone special, as a master, a Messiah? How can we? Because it looks so illogical. On paper, it does not make sense that this is the Messiah. Yet he was the true Messiah, an alchemist. And he was telling all of us that we can be too. And don't fret, don't worry. There's no such thing as time, so it's not like you're running out of time and, we may never know, blah, blah, blah. No. What I always say to people in regards to our fate, our time, is that because we are in 3D, which holds us to time, the only thing you have to think about is you being away from Zen, you being away from Source, you not ascending. So if I die today, for example, and my corpse is laying there without a soul, starting to rot, in essence, I've failed. But it's not too late, because it means I have works to do to ascend. Whereas, should I ascend in the body, i.e., like Jesus, Enoch, many others too, I'm sure, that aren't documented, but we know some that are documented who went up body and soul. You see, once you ascend like that, then you go to Zen, or you go closer still. And what I say then is, when you have the opportunity to ascend now, why wouldn't you want to? It's not that if you don't ascend, it's too late, it's the end, like religion would tell you. But why would you want to be away from Source? Why would you want to be away from Zen longer than you have to be? Right now you are away, as I am. And yes, we go through these pains. This is why I say this is hell. The separation, we go through these pains. And that is because we are away from the Source. So all these masters, all these religions, all these teachings, all these deeper things in life, all it is pointing to is our ascension. however many levels we go up, is pointing to our ascension. And it's not that it is too late. I think what it is that with the church, they treat us like children, literally. So whereas, so where you would tell your child, for example, something to, sort of hurry them up, but it's not true. And as they get older, they realize it's not true. It's just, mum and dad being, caring and worried about us, whatever. So they're just giving us lies to make us be a bit more paranoid or a bit more aware about something and blah blah blah. You get what I'm saying? As you get older, you realize, oh, they were just a bit, they were not white lies, but it wasn't the whole truth. Part of it is true, the essence, the fact that we need to ascend, but what we are told about it in terms of the time and being too late and judgment day and this and that, that is the lie, which is almost like a lie to sort of speed us up. So the intention is good, I would hope, initially, by the church, by all these religious authorities. The intention, I would hope, is initially good, but how it manifests is not, because it is feeding a lie to people that there is this and that and you're separate and time and running out and all of this spookism. So what I'm just saying is that while you're here now listening to this, you could be with Source, you could be with Zen. And I don't even mean necessarily doing it now, literally. But at least you can tune yourself into the universe. Open your heart, open your mind, be more peaceful, show more love, and you'll start attracting the good vibes in this life to yourself. And that will make ascension easier. You see, the goal for me and you is to take ourselves in body and spirit up. If I die today and you see my corpse, it means Eddie failed. Period. So, sorry I went off there, but to answer the question, definitely Jesus would be in the club. He would be partying. He would be popping them bottles. He would be mingling with people, because that is the way to connect. That's why Jesus did outreach work. He said to the people, to the religious snobs, to the religious authorities, he said to them that I do not come here for those who do not need me. A doctor does not treat those who do not need treatment. A doctor only treats those who are unwell. So we are all out here to help each other ascend. It's not about me being better or knowing more or being this or that and then you're this. No. If that's the case, you're still working in that paradigm, which we all need to take ourselves out of. It's all about all of us ascending. However long it takes, however we do it, we need to ascend. So that's why you had masters like Jesus mingling in the club, mingling with those outcasts of society. And that's the reason why he was ridiculed, because those people who did not understand alchemy were confused about this man.